Ladies and gentlemen, last chapter, potentially hazardous chemicals. Booyah, yeah, let's get this going, yo. So in order to make a dead human body safe for the funeral process, the embalmer is required to handle and apply chemical agents which have the power to disinfect, preserve, and restore decomposing tissue. It is safe to assume that if these chemical agents have the power to change dead tissue, they will have the potential to change the living human tissue of anyone who comes in contact with these agents. It's for this reason that some chemical substances used in the preparation of dead human bodies have been classified as hazardous chemicals. A poison is a substance which, when introduced into a living organism, interferes with the normal physiological functions of that organism. And embalming chemicals can act as a poison if they are introduced into a living organism. You put formaldehyde in something living, it's going to screw it up. Well, if the living organism is an agent of infectious disease or is a contributor to the putrefaction and or decay of a body, then to poison it's advantageous. The bad part is that it then puts you at risk while you're doing it. So if you are trying to kill the HIV virus, you're trying to kill the indigenous flora of the intestines, which will translocate and accelerate decomposition. Yeah, let's do it. Get her done. Bad part is that while you're doing it and getting her done, you are exposing yourself to the same type of problems. Poisons appear in two basic varieties, inorganic and organic. Well, inorganic poisons, not hard. Elements, compounds derived from inanimate sources. Rule of thumb, if it's not a plant or an animal, it's inorganic. Mercury, arsenic, lead. Chances are pretty good that if you see an element name, it's probably inorganic. Whereas organic poisons are often referred to as toxins. A toxin is a poisonous substance of plant or animal origin. The amount of poison to which human beings are exposed can be called a dose. A lethal dose is that amount of the poison which will cause death to an organism to which it is administered. And we see there's plenty of nasty stuff in everyday foods outside of, like, the genetically modified stuff and the pesticides and garbage and everything the heck else. Just occurring naturally, there is bad stuff in certain things. As an example, if you have a bird, if you own a parrot, you do not want them noshing on the big seed of an avocado because that contains something that is toxic to them, but not so much for human beings. A lethal dose, which kills 50% of the organisms which receive the dose, is classified as an LD50, lethal dose 50 of the poison. So if I have this dose, 50% of organisms will die if they receive it. You better hope you're not part of that 50. The minimum lethal dose is the amount of poison which will kill all the organisms which receive the dose. It is labeled as the MLD. That's a hard one. Minimum lethal dose of a poison. Minimum lethal dose is the amount of poison which will kill all organisms which receive that dose. The LD50 is the dose that will kill 50% of organisms that get that specific dose. Own this stuff. It's easy. The Occupational Safety and Health Act, as well as the statutes of the Environmental Protection Agency, have designated many of the chemicals used in the preparation room as hazardous chemicals. And the list in your book is not exhaustive. There's a much more comprehensive list following Chapter 3 in the 5th edition of Embalming Theory, History, and Practice by Robert Mayer. Now, you need to go in there and look at that list. You are responsible for all the chemicals, okay? And I'm not going to cover each and every chemical just to say them, okay? There's just no purpose in that. This is black and white rote memorization. All the information you need for a chemical will be presented in the chemical. If it's not there, don't go looking for it. I'm not going to go on Google to find what the MLD of a certain chemical is just so I have the benefit of asking you that test question on the test. If it's already in the book, then yes, I may go through and I may ask the MLD on that because it's there. You just need to go through and memorize it. And just in chapter 15 of your chemistry book, this chapter right here, there's 26 chemicals just here which you're responsible for. So there's going to be some time and effort on your part. I strongly suggest that your note cards contain the following for each one of the chemicals. Name of the chemical, the definition, if there's any other names or common names, AKAs, There is a primary use or a secondary use given. Both of them if they're both given. Limits or tolerances. If there's an MLD, if there's an LD50, write it. Then signs and symptoms of exposure. Okay? If they give you a sign or a symptom in the definition of that one little chemical, write it and put it on your card. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been an honor and a privilege. Hope you've taken away from this course. Hope you've, received the tools that you need to succeed in your mortuary endeavors. And I look forward to seeing you all succeed in this class and any other class you might take me with, and seeing your names as future licensed professionals. So you folks take care of each other, and hope to see you all soon.